March 9, 1876. A woman is standing in her yard in rural Kentucky, making soap under a perfectly clear sky. And then, raw meat begins falling from the heavens. Not rain, not hail, flesh. And to this day, nobody can fully explain why. Bath County, Kentucky. Population, almost nobody. This is the kind of place where nothing happens. Rolling hills, scattered homesteads. Silence, so deep you can hear your own pulse. Mrs. Allen Crouch lives here with her husband on a modest farm near the tiny settlement of Rankin. On this particular Friday morning, she's outside tending her soap kettle. The sky above is empty, cloudless, blue from horizon to horizon. And that detail matters more than anyone realizes. At roughly 11:30 in the morning, something wet strikes the ground near her feet. Then another piece, and another. Mrs. Crouch looks up into that pristine blue sky and watches as chunks of raw meat, some as small as snowflakes, others nearly 4 inches across, tumble silently out of nothing. They land on the ground, on the fences, on tree branches. The fall continues for several agonizing minutes, blanketing a strip of land 100 yards long and 50 yards wide. And it wouldn't stop. The meat is fresh. It's red. Some pieces are thin and papery, almost like flakes. Others are thick, ragged chunks of genuine animal flesh. Mrs. Crouch is no stranger to hardship. She's a frontier farmer's wife in post-Civil War Appalachia. But nothing in her life has prepared her for this. There is no storm, no wind, no aircraft. This is 1876, nearly 3 decades before the Wright brothers. Just meat, dropping from an empty sky. And then, the neighbors arrive. Word travels fast in a place where nothing happens. The Crouch property is soon crawling with curious locals. And here's where the story takes its first truly bizarre turn. 2 men, whose names history never recorded, pick up pieces of the fallen meat and eat it. They chew it carefully, consider the taste, and declare it to be mutton. Or possibly venison. They can't quite agree. But both are absolutely certain of one thing. This is real meat from a real animal. But which animal? That question is about to become a national controversy. The story reaches the local press within days. Then the regional papers pick it up. Then the national ones. The New York Times runs a brief, astonished report. Scientific American covers it. Suddenly, a quiet corner of Appalachian Kentucky is the center of one of the strangest mysteries in American history. But the attention brings something else: scientists. Men with microscopes and very specific questions. And what they discover under those lenses will only deepen the mystery. Samples of the meat are collected and preserved, some in glycerin, others kept in sealed jars. They're dispatched to laboratories across the eastern United States. The first scientist to publish his findings is Leopold Brandeis, a histologist in New York. He slices the Kentucky meat thin, places it under his microscope, adjusts the lens, and peers through the eyepiece. He identifies 3 distinct types of animal tissue. But the specific tissues he finds raise a question nobody is prepared to answer. Brandeis identifies lung tissue, striated muscle fiber, and cartilage. 3 different tissue types from what appears to be a mixture. Organs, muscle, connective tissue, as if something had been torn apart. Dr. A. Mead Edwards, president of the Newark Scientific Association, conducts his own independent examination and confirms the findings. Lung, muscle, cartilage. But Edwards goes one step further. He compares the cellular structures to known specimens in his collection. He studies the patterns carefully, and then he announces his conclusion publicly. The tissue, he declares, appears consistent with horse flesh. Or, possibly, human infant tissue. Let that settle for a moment. A respected scientist in 1876 publicly suggests that the meat raining from a Kentucky sky may contain human tissue. The claim sends shockwaves through the scientific community. Some researchers push back immediately. Dr. J.W.S. Arnold examines the samples independently and identifies lung tissue from either a horse or a human, noting that the cellular structures of these 2 species are nearly identical, making definitive identification impossible with 1870s-era microscopy. But the ambiguity itself becomes the headline. Newspapers seize on the most sensational interpretation. The public demands answers, and the scientists have nothing conclusive to offer. So where did this meat actually come from? Theories pile up almost immediately. The first and most exotic, cosmic meat. Some genuinely propose that the flesh fell from outer space, organic material entering the atmosphere from some unknown source. This idea is dismissed almost as quickly as it's suggested, but it captures the sheer desperation of the moment. No conventional explanation seems to fit. The second theory involves a strange substance called nostoc, a cyanobacterium that swells into gelatinous masses after rain and was sometimes called star jelly by rural folk. Perhaps Mrs. Crouch simply mistook bacterial slime for meat? It sounds reasonable, until you put it under a microscope. The nostoc theory collapses immediately under magnification. Brandeis, Edwards, Arnold, they all confirm the samples contained genuine animal cells. Cartilage, lung tissue, striated muscle fibers. This is not bacterial slime. This is flesh. Which brings us to the third theory, and the one most historians cautiously accept today. Vultures. Turkey vultures are abundant across Kentucky. They're known to gorge themselves on carrion, dead horses, cattle, deer, anything rotting. And critically, when startled or needing to gain altitude quickly, vultures vomit their stomach contents mid-flight. It's a well-documented survival behavior. So could an entire flock have disgorged at once, directly above the Crouch farm? The vulture hypothesis fits some of the evidence neatly. It explains the mixture of tissue types, lung, muscle, cartilage, all consistent with a partially digested carcass. It explains how meat could appear to fall from a clear sky, since vultures soar at altitudes where they're invisible to the naked eye. But there are problems. Eyewitnesses describe the fall lasting several minutes across a wide area. A synchronized mass vomiting event would require dozens of birds acting in near-perfect unison. No flock was reported in the area that morning, and the meat was described as fresh, not partially digested by powerful stomach acids. Something doesn't quite add up. Here's what most people don't know. The preserved samples from the Kentucky meat shower still existed well into the 20th century. Kept in jars, carefully labeled, stored in institutional collections. But when modern researchers went looking for them, most had quietly vanished. The few surviving specimens that have been located are too degraded for modern DNA analysis. The one technology that could finally, definitively solve this 150-year-old mystery arrived about a century too late. The critical evidence is gone forever, which means the Kentucky meat shower of 1876 occupies an extraordinary position in history, an event that dozens of people witnessed, that trained scientists examined, that major newspapers documented, and that remains, to this day, genuinely and perhaps permanently unexplained. The vulture theory remains the leading candidate. It's the most mundane, the most scientifically plausible, and in the absence of better evidence, Occam's razor favors it. But even its strongest proponents admit it requires assumptions that simply cannot be verified. No one reported seeing vultures that morning. The distribution pattern, 100 yards long, 50 yards wide, suggests a sustained event, not a single explosive release. And the freshness of the meat contradicts what you'd expect from a vulture's stomach, where powerful digestive acids begin breaking down tissue almost immediately upon ingestion. Every explanation has a flaw. Every theory has a gap it cannot close. The Kentucky meat shower was documented by the New York Times, investigated by multiple credentialed scientists, debated in the pages of Scientific American, and preserved in the records of the Smithsonian Institution. This is not folklore. This is not legend. It happened on a documented date, at a documented location, to documented people. And it reminds us of something deeply uncomfortable about the world we inhabit, that not every mystery gets a clean resolution. That sometimes the universe presents us with events that sit permanently beyond the reach of satisfying explanation. The sky was clear that morning. The meat was undeniably real. And 150 years later, we still don't know why raw flesh fell on a quiet Kentucky farm on March 9, 1876. Mrs. Allen Crouch was just making soap. She didn't ask for a mystery, but the sky gave her one, a mystery that outlived her, outlived the scientists who studied it, and will almost certainly outlive every single one of us. Some questions don't come with answers. They just come with meat.